So while that was our last talk of the day, we have one more seminar. This kind of builds on this sense of what we've been talking about all day. What is the goal that you're going to take away from this event? What's the one thing that you're going to change in what you're doing right now, either with yourself or your perspective of kind of your company, your goals, that you can start applying tomorrow? I'm thrilled to welcome to the stage both someone who served as my executive coach for some time this year last year, I guess, while I was doing a career change, Dale Larson, and his partner, Marcy Swenson from Startup Happiness. They're going to, I think, work with me through one of my goals and then invite you guys to actually take the mic and let us know what your goal is, or if you don't have a goal, ask them for help on how to get there. I'll hand it off to you.
Thanks, Cass.
This one on two. Ah, there it is. Perfect.
Wow.
Oh, awesome.
That was
Nice.
really challenging for me to watch Jason's video there. Something that a lot of people don't know about me is that I was a cheerleader in high school. And before I ever was a cheerleader in front of people, I was practicing over the summer, and I did a backflip that broke my leg, splitting the tibia up 4 inches. So it looked a lot like that when I hit the mat and started screaming. Thanks for reminding me of that, Jason. So I've been to, I think, maybe every FailCon. This might have been just the best one yet. What do you guys think? Come on, I was really a cheerleader. Can I have a louder cheer than that? Come on. That's more like it. Thank you. Cass, thank you so much for bringing everybody here to do this amazing work all day. Let's hear it for Cass. And all the great speakers that we had today, each and every one of them, think back to the beginning and think to all the people who brought something that mattered to you. Let's hear it for them too.
And mentors.
What's that?
And the mentors.
And the mentors that you had. Oh, come on, the mentors deserve more than that. All right, enough cheerleading. So Cass said that we are both executive coaches. Our company is called Startup Happiness. Yes, I'm one of the people that raised my hand when we said, does anybody know anything about naming? Okay, that one fell flat. But we work mostly with CEOs and founders of venture-backed tech startups because we were both entrepreneurs who've been through a few successes, a few good exits, and a few failures of our own. Anything else you want to say about that, Marcy?
Nope, I think that covers it.
Great. So the reason that we agreed to do this session here at the end was we want for each and every one of you to be happier and more successful in building your businesses and in changing the world. And towards that end, if you got any insight at all today, if there was anything that you learned, we want to help you put it into action. We want to make sure that that becomes real for you so that you get something out of it and the world gets something out of it.
And if you're anything like me, this is the point in the day where you're kind of starting to get sleepy and thinking about going home and zoning out and networking. And I really want to encourage you to get the most out of the day, to think about how you're going to put today's insight into action. It's something that we do with clients all the time. We end up with people who go, whoa, that's an amazing insight, and then want to walk away. And it's our job to kind of tug on them a little bit and say, okay, well, what are you actually going to do about that?
Do you want them to do that now? Great. So let's take a moment to reflect. If you look back through the whole day, there were lots of times that you were asked, what is it that you're going to take away from this? What are you going to put into action? Or speakers who said, here's my key takeaways.
And speakers, you are not exempt.
Oh, yeah.
We
speakers,
expect you've been listening and learning. Mentors, speakers, everybody, be on it.
So along the way, if you look back at all of those, what's the one thing that stands out, not as the wisest thing that somebody said today or the most tweetable thing, but the thing that matters most to you, where you need to grow next, or where it's going to make a big difference in how you build your business or change the world? So take a moment. What is the one thing that was most useful to you here today? And then ask yourself, and what's one action that I can take to do something from that insight or that learning, to take it from theory and put it into action? Y'all look so somber and quiet. Maybe we should take a moment to move around like Cass has had us do earlier in the day.
Yep.
Could everybody stand up, please?
Yep.
Rather than just jump around and wiggle, since we're trying to be creative here, since we want a little bit of inspiration, the root of inspiration is inspire, as in breathe. So let's take a couple of breaths. We heard earlier about posture being powerful. They've actually shown that you can increase the levels of testosterone in your body with your posture, and a big open posture will do that. So lift your arms up, spread your legs out at least shoulder width, and take a big, deep breath. Fill your lungs all the way, expand your chest. Awesome. Take up some space, fill the room with your energy. Remember that pink blob? Yeah. Now from here, take a moment to reflect again, and it's all right if it's the same thing, but what's the thing that feels most powerful that you got from today that you need for you and that the world needs from you? And how are you going to put that into action? How are you going to do something with that learning? It'd be great if you could boil that down into just a sentence or two, but if it's not all the way distilled yet, that's okay. You'll have a few moments. In a minute, I'm going to use Cass as an example. We're going to see what she's come up with today. Then you all will have a chance to share with each other for a few moments. And then we're going to open up the microphones and ask as many people as we can to share some version of what their key learning was from today. What's that thing that's going to be most useful and how they're going to put it into action. What's the question back here?
Are we sharing? Are we? Is this?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. I thought we were all like.
But you're on. You're first.
I'm sharing. Okay. Well, I was just thinking about your question, and I unfortunately wasn't able to get to the last part of the Backblaze talk, but I really appreciated it because you often don't hear about people spending so much money on advertising. I think one of the things that, as a marketer, that I think about is what can you learn from spending all that money and seeing what happens when you do things? And for them to talk about the different lessons that they learned, I think I really appreciated that even really smart companies that have been really successful and raised lots of money can still blow a lot of cash and struggle, and that's okay.
Jason, this is a great example. Will you let us play with you for a minute?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so you did a fantastic job saying, here's what's inspiring and here's what I learned. What will you do as a result of that? What can you put into action as a result of that learning?
Well, some of the things that I've thought about for a next company would be one.
I'm sorry, I don't want to hear about your next company, as interesting as that might be. What is it that you can do
Now.
tonight or this week or
Today.
over the next month to somehow make that learning real in your life?
Talking with my one of the other fellows at the Smithsonian about how we're concerned about our project, because we have 2 months left and we have to hand it off to somebody, and I don't see where our project's going to live yet, and so having those sort of scary conversations would be a tomorrow kind of thing.
Awesome. Nailed it.
Got it. So it was the thing that Gleb said, if you're not having the conversations that scare the shit out of you, you're not talking about what's important to your business, and you're going to go have one of those difficult conversations with your partner in this project.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thanks. Sorry. Cass, you wanted to put yourself on the spot?
This is actually on the spot. It's
So
totally on the spot.
what was The biggest learning, yeah, great, you all can sit down. What was that key learning for you today, that thing that is going to really be the insight that you need to grow with?
So it actually came from probably, no, I was going to say I had two. There was Mickey and it was John. There we go. So I need to start creating better benchmarks for myself, both in failure and in success. I have a really bad habit of constantly setting my success benchmark higher and constantly setting my success or my failure benchmark higher. So when I fail, I refuse to notice it, which is totally true. And when I succeed, I also refuse to notice it. And so listening to John from GitHub talk about setting appropriate measurable benchmarks, I'd like to, I know what your criticism on this is already going to be, but I'd like to start doing that.
What was it that you knew we were going to say?
You're going to ask me what I'm going to start doing tomorrow.
When we work well with our clients, they end up asking the questions themselves. We work our way out of a job. It's great.
I'm actually really nervous up here and totally shaking. Tomorrow, I could probably look at how FailCon is doing and how I'm feeling in my other business, Pocket Gems, and ask myself what made today successful, and that will help me have a benchmark for success, and what's a small step I could take moving forward to become more successful. I don't know how to ask a question about what is failure, which is really ironic that I'm hosting this conference and I'm not sure how to ask that question.
You said that you don't let yourself acknowledge when you've succeeded or when you failed.
Right.
And if you don't acknowledge it, then you don't actually get to have the experience.
True.
Who was it that spoke today about letting yourself have the feelings? Wasn't that in the first talk?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Mickey also inspired me a lot.
You took video of all this, though,
I
right?
did.
So you could go back and rewatch that
I
one.
could. We do a video of all this, so you can go back and rewatch it. That actually gives me a good idea for tomorrow, is maybe it is just setting down actually things that have been successes recently and have been failures recently, and using those to start building my benchmarks and taking like tomorrow I could literally look back on what I feel like over the last year has been successful and has failed and start those as my benchmarks.
That's a beautiful starting point. How about if you make two lists? What are my successes? What are my failures? And how about if I up you one? Let yourself feel into, as you look at each one of those successes, what does that feel like now that I label it as a success?
Sure, that sounds
And
nice.
the failures.
That's a little harder.
What's the experience there when I let myself really let it wash over me? Stand in the middle of that fire.
Yeah.
What feelings come up? What sensations go through my body? And if I sit with it longer, do they change or do they stay the same? So let yourself experience it with that list.
Yeah, that sounds nice. I will do that tomorrow. That'll be my
Awesome.
act on FailCon. Cool.
So do you guys all get it? You want to do a version of this with each other? I actually don't care if you want to do, because that's what you're going to do. Would you? We're going to give you about 5 minutes. If you would turn to somebody next to you, get a partner, and have the conversation that we just had. What is it that you found most insightful for your growth today, and what are you going to do to put it into action, something you can do right away?
Feel free
I'll
to
tell you
stand.
when we're halfway through so that we can make sure you're both covered, and then we'll have a chance for more people to share with the room. So now we're going to have a chance for more of you to speak to the whole room. What is it that you've learned, and what is it that you want to do about it? We might help you tweak it a little bit like we did with Cass and Jason. So this is your opportunity. We're real expensive coaches. This is your chance to get it for free. And if you're not the person who normally jumps up and gets in line to speak first, if you're a little shy or you just don't take a risk in front of a group like this, I'd like to give you a double invitation. Where are the microphones? With mic runners, could we get them up here? If we could get a line up here at each end of the stage, if you would be willing to share, what's your key insight from today? And what are you going to do to put it into action? Or if you're a little bit stuck, you weren't able to get that good distillation of it, come on up.
Cool. Oh, is yours hot? You can hand it to this guy. He's ready to start.
Bring 'em up.
Anyone else? I'm ready.
Hi, so my name is Nick Allen. I'm the founder of Howzilla.
You want to just come on up since
on
you're
up.
halfway here
Sure.
anyway?
Yeah.
Y'all don't have to come up. You can stay down there, but
So one of my key takeaways from today was John from Store Envy really talking about being very explicit in writing down your culture and the culture that you want to be, and being somewhat aspirational, but also really grounded in where you really are as a company. And so thinking about ways to kind of pull my team in and create kind of our manifesto and the principles around which we can all align as we build our company together. So my action item is really to sit down with my team, well, to draft 10 bullet points or just kind of 10 principles that I feel like really represent our company, and to kind of align around that with the team so that we have a document to go back to and kind of an agreed upon mindset to go back to when conflict does arise.
Kind of fabulous. A couple of things I'd add. You've got a great running start. Once you get that manifesto and then you've checked it out with the other co-founders, there's often someone who's a bullshit detector. And so it's great to just let them go, which of these are we not quite doing yet? But they actually sound like something we might want to do. And it's totally fine to have some aspirational values or some things that you might want to try and get to, even if you're not there yet.
Yeah, one of my big learnings actually from that talk was it's really easy to write some corporate mumbo jumbo of like, we value blah, 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 but actually kind of taking a realistic look about where we are and grounding that in where we stand right now so that it's aspirational but not unrealistic to the point that it doesn't actually resonate or mean anything to us.
Yep. A great way to test them would be to say, if someone is living by this value, they're doing X, Y, and Z. If they're not living by this value, A, B, and C might be happening. And that way you have the positive case and the negative case, and it becomes a really good, are they doing it or not?
Yeah, I also really like this concept of translating between, like the internal version, but then translating it into other languages. So like an external facing version for our users to see like, how does that translate the way that we run into the way that we actually are outward facing. So he mentioned with customer support, design, all these different kind of segments to kind of interpret it through. I thought that was really, really interesting.
so if something gets in your way of getting this done this week and you put it off next week and the week after, what will get in the way?
So quite honestly, I mean, I've run into issues with my co-founders of communication, right? Of me, working with a lot of customers and being kind of off, and then kind of trying to come back and maybe be too dictatorial and say, this is what the customer wants, now let's build it. And I think that I really want to create a more inclusive culture with my co-founders that, they're coming to these meetings too, they're hearing these perspectives, and we're all driving towards the same thing. Because we're still very early, and I think that sometimes we're not always on the same page. So it's really a goal of mine to keep us together and to build that cohesion.
So how will you overcome that to make sure that this happens?
I think just setting up one-on-ones with the two of them, and just sitting down and saying, this is what I think we are doing. What do you think we're doing? So the first step is getting that meeting down together, and then the second, I think, is just living the life of a startup together. And when we run into conflict, having something to say, okay, like what's different here? Is it something that operationally we need to change in the manifesto, or rather that we're just not living the kind of principles that we've agreed upon? Or are they just not realistic to our team dynamic? So.
I think you nailed it.
Thanks.
Great.
I don't need to go up there, right?
No, you
All
don't
right,
have to.
I'll stay
It's
down here.
optional.
Hi, my name
But
is
we
Ro-
like you up here.
That's all right, I'll stand down here. You can be up there. My name is Ramin. I got up earlier today, and there was this open thing that said, anybody who needs help. And I got up and I asked for help, and I got to tell you, I had people come up to me and very generously offered to help. And I'm a developer. I've worked solo for the last 6-7 years, and I build things, and in that domain of technology, I feel very comfortable and very confident about it, and I help other people as much as I can. But this new project I'm working on, and two of the areas it's out of my comfort zone. One is hardware and one is retail. And so this last weekend I was at another conference that had to do with hardware, and I just feel like if you do ask for help, like as was evidenced today, in areas that are slightly out of your field of comfort, you're amazingly surprised. And I was, and I'm very grateful, and I will definitely follow up with people who came up to me and gave me their card, and I had great conversations with some people. So my takeaway was, ask for help. Just
So the bottom line insight, ask for help.
yeah, and
Okay.
sometimes.
And you started today. You actually didn't even wait till tomorrow.
I've informally I've informally been asking people for their opinions, but to just openly just say ask for help and say, please help me out. I think that is, I'm like blown away right now. I'm
So-
still processing.
What's going to be different in your life and in your business if you put that insight into action and ask for help?
To actually, instead of just, opinion, instead of like going to a circle of friends, that's what I typically do. And they're people that I go to, my go-to, like essentially mentors, but not that formal. But I think what I'm going to do is be way more open to other people who aren't necessarily in that immediate circle.
Why does that matter? Who cares? What's going to be different in your life or in your business if you reach out and ask more widely for help?
Serendipity, I think. I think being much more open to surprises,
Bottom line, you're going to be able to grow your business in ways that you didn't expect.
No doubt, no doubt.
And have
Absolutely.
more impact in the world.
Yeah, and learn a heck of a lot more than I even thought it would be possible just from strangers.
And what happens if you close back up and you go back to just asking your inner circle for help and
Not going to happen.
outside?
I still need to think about it. This is my second year at FailCon, and last year it took me 2-3 days of just thinking about what I had heard. So I know 2-3 days from now I'll have other thoughts about what I learned today.
Yeah.
But just now I don't think I'm going to go back to that. I'm going to seek out other people that in other domains know a lot more.
I think you got a great running start.
Yeah.
I'd add one further nudge, a nudge in the direction of transparency. If you were to go to your inner circle and actually say, I actually realize I don't always explicitly ask for help.
Right.
I ask for ideas, but I don't say, can you help me with this? I'm going to practice doing that, and totally cool if you come right back at me.
Yeah,
And do it with
thank
me
you.
too.
Yeah,
Then
yeah,
you
appreciate
increase
it.
the chances that you're actually going to go to them,
Right.
and you also make it safe for them to come to you.
Yeah, okay. No, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ramin.
Hi. This is my first time at FailCon. It was actually Patty Silverman who invited us over, so thank you for that. But I think the big takeaway for me today is about seeing people up on stage who failed and being able to walk away with it without, I don't know, they were doing fine, right? That was okay. So for me, it will be about, going forward, it will be about trusting my gut more and doing the things that scare me more, because I find it's so easy for me to say, oh, there's this thing and it would be good to do it, but there's a million reasons not to do it. But I know when I do things that I'm scared of, that they end up.
So if you had to pick one of those, which would it be? Trust your gut more or do the things that scare you?
I think they're related.
Which one's the better description of it?
Trusting the gut.
Okay, great. And what will you do to put that into action?
Just try to tune out the noise and really listen to what my gut is telling me, I guess.
So you're going to get busy in your life and in the world, and decisions are going to come up. How are you going to remember to slow down and listen?
Maybe find set aside a certain amount of time each day. Maybe at the end, maybe right in the middle. Go to a quiet space and try to step back and reflect on what's happening, rather than be in the midst of it and get carried away with what's going on.
So time for reflection would help you make sure that you are listening to your intuition and not just running away from the things that you're afraid of.
I think so, yeah.
So how will you get that time in your life and make sure that it's honored?
Actually, set time in my calendar.
A little reminder on your phone or something?
Yeah. This is my reflection time.
Awesome. When will you put that in your calendar?
Today, right now.
Do you have your phone?
Now.
It's on my desk.
Great. Will you go to it? Thanks.
What I especially love about that is that you're going to make it a daily habit and practice.
I think we might have one more.
Do we have one more? We have time for it.
All right, one more.
Great.
Wait, we got one over here.
Okay, we have two more.
We're doing two. Okay. Make them a little
Who is
tick.
the one over here?
Okay.
Got it. Okay. You're on.
Oh, we're on here first. You're on the house.
I'm first? Well, crap. See, I've always jokingly said that my biggest teacher regarding business was World of Warcraft. Coming here, I've actually learned that despite my really negative emotional associations with some of that stuff because of how spectacularly some of the things that I've done with that and with subsequent business stuff, well, failed kind of spectacularly, that doesn't mean that I need to associate the successes with that failure to the point at which I do not give myself credit for the successes. Today, I've heard over and over and over things that I was yelling at people, they wouldn't listen to me, they wouldn't recruit based on culture, they wouldn't have a unified goal in the leadership. And coming here and realizing that those things were right, those things were not diminished by, they were diamonds even if they were in a pile of shit. So my biggest takeaway is that I need to give myself credit for those successes and those things that I'm doing right, even when they're surrounded by, big or small failures. And what I'm going to do immediately is I'm going to dedicate myself to not letting learning by observing get in the way of learning by doing. Because when you're not giving yourself credit for all those little and big successes because of the failures that they're surrounded by, you can get trapped in a cycle of, well, I'd better watch some people do this stuff some more so I know what I'm doing.
So you really have a sense of your own competency and your own wisdom. Sounds like something you're carrying away from today is like, actually, I know a lot more about what I'm talking about than I ever thought.
Yeah, even just because some of that experience was in, World of Warcraft, I wasn't necessarily giving it the credit that I deserve.
Okay, as a huge Game of Thrones fan, I think there's a lot to learn from sci-fi and gaming and all that stuff. But regardless, what's the action that you'll take? What's the thing you'll do tomorrow that'll help set you on this path? It can be a tiny action, but what's the way that you'll trust yourself, believe in your own wisdom and understanding?
Actually, a couple weeks ago, I just got in touch with a blogger that I really admire who does career coaching. And I'm going to make a point of being more honest with her about my goals and my actual obstacles in what I'm trying to do, because that's the only way I'm going to really get there.
Awesome learning and great way to turn it into action. Thanks for sharing.
Okay, now last one.
Before that, the calendar, is it entered into your phone now?
Good.
I'm going to be really curious how that plays out for you. Would you send me an email in a couple of weeks and tell me what you've done with that reflection time, how something has changed for you because you're following your gut and you're not just avoiding your fears? Sure. It's dale@startuphappiness.com.
Okay, last question.
Now
We're
last
going
one.
for drinks.
Drinks.
My name is Alan, and I run a software design and development company. What I learned today was that everybody fails. And there's a lot of CEOs in this room, and sometimes that failure can be very personal if you've put your whole life into the company and you associate your own self with the success of that company. And when it fails, it's really hard, and nobody really wants to talk about it. And sometimes getting over that, as one of the speakers talked about, can be very difficult. So I learned that, and what I want to start doing tomorrow is start teaching the team more and feeling that to be more in line with the culture of the company, so that to share the experiences and to let them know what it's like, to succeed and to fail and to know that it's okay to fail, as long as you learn from it and move on.
So I think I'm hearing two things in that. One, which is something that you learned about failing being okay, and the other is something that you learned about being a founder equals being a teacher.
Yeah, both. I
And
put
that-
both into the same one, sorry.
Great. And that second thing, one of the things that you might teach is a value that you have around failure or something you learned about it, but everything else about your business and why we do things here the way that we do them, why our culture is the way that it is, why we treat customers the way we do, why we hire the way we do. Those are all whys that I need to pass on to my team and be teaching them rather than being everyone coming back to say, in the words of that earlier speaker, because John wanted it that way. So tell me again, what's the action?
I need to learn to teach the company, like John was saying, about why our company is the way it is, the way that our mission and our vision.
So what will you do to learn that?
I'm still thinking about that.
Here's a tip that I often share with clients, especially who are moving from doers to teachers. If you're tracking the to-dos that you have to do for that day, track alongside it the number of times you taught somebody something, the number of times you shared something about your culture or the context of your company. Because if you're going to shift into the role of teacher, you're going to need to give yourself credit for every time you do that.
Whether it's a to-teach list or whether it's a just-taught list, either way, keep track of it.
You'll be surprised at how hungry people are for the context that's rolling around in your head, all the things that are second nature to you that you know about your company. Your team will be really excited to hear them.
So is that action one that sounds like it might work for you?
That really sounds like it'll work.
Awesome. When are you going to start the list?
Today, now.
I think that's a wrap.
That's a beautiful place to end. Today, now. Thank you.
Thank you both. Am I on now? Oh, I am on now. I'm welcoming now to the stage Diane, who some of you got to sit in on her lecture. Wasn't a lecture, on a workshop. I'm obviously losing my voice as well. Diane's going to kind of wrap up our show, and then I'm going to give a couple quick bookkeeping notes, like on drinks and how to get them. So sit tight for 5 more minutes.
All right, thanks, Cassie. So I'm Diane. I started this conference with Cassie 5 years ago. It's kind of crazy. I keep on losing track of how many years it's been. But I just want to tell you guys, today's been super, super incredible. I started off, the first talk, I was crying when Mickey was up here crying, and I was like, oh, I feel like I'm at like my best friend's wedding. This is really emotional. And then midway through, talking about suicide, and I was like, oh, this is intense. Like, PhilCon's never gotten this intense. I need to like leave. I need to go out, get some fresh air. And then I had so much fun and so much energy at the workshop we were doing over there about how to call it quits. And so I just today, I just went through a lot of different emotions, and I think a lot of you guys have too, and that's what PhilCon's all about. And so I just wanted to let you guys know that if you want to get involved in PhilCon next year, we're thinking about changing it up a little bit. Email me at diane@thephailcon.com, and we can start talking about how to make it even more incredible and super awesome next year. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you, Diane. All right, quick housekeeping. Once again, love to thank our sponsors. I'll drop you some great offers that they've going to be providing for all of our attendees, so watch your inbox for those. We have an a happy hour, taking place at Sapphire Bar. It is literally 1 block up here on California. It's up on Sacramento and 1 block over. This is Sansom, just cross the Sansom Street. That little blue ticket in your badges gets you 1 free drink. It might even get you more if the bar tab lasts. So I'll let you know about that. You're also welcome to invite your friends. They are welcome to come by. It is a happy hour. I think the beer is like $4 and the mixed well drinks are like $6. So if you have friends that want to swing by, it's totally open. Everyone is welcome. The only great thing you guys get, oh, I took my badge off. The only great things you guys get is with that badge that I'm now missing, you get your free drink or drinks, depending on how many people go. As a reminder, after that, at 8 at Madrone, Tech Drink Up has welcomed us all to swing by with our badges and get in for free. Thank you all for coming. This was our 5th annual FailCon. Our next one is actually in Berlin in November. So if anyone is going back to Berlin, is anyone going to Berlin? They can go head over there. And then we've got 15 others going on around the world. So if anyone's interested in hosting in their local country, let me know. I feel like I should end on a bigger note, but thank you all for coming and have a great rest of your evening.